and pleasant morning all. I welcome all for today's CXO Connect on the topic brand positioning and promotion in rural markets. According to IBEF, the hinterlands in India consist of about 650,000 villages. These villages were inhabited by about 850 million consumers, making up of about 70% of a population and contributing around half of country's GDP. Some of India's largest consumer companies serve one-third of their consumers from rural India. Rural consumers are aspiring to purchase branded high-quality products. To have more discussion on the topic, we have with us Rotarian Janakiram Raju, former chairman and managing director of BASF Bangladesh Limited. We welcome you, sir. I also welcome our beloved director, Dr. AGV Narayanan, faculties and students of DJM, and all other participants for today's CXO Connect. Now I invite my friend Devi Nandini to introduce the speaker.
Good afternoon to all. Our Connect speaker, Rotarian N. Janakiram Raju, retired chairman and managing director of BASF Bangladesh Limited. He completed B.Sc and M.Sc in agriculture at Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore, done his master degree in marketing management at University of Bombay. Overall, 20 years worked for American Cyanamid in crop protection, 9 years in sales as sales officer, sales executive, sales manager in South India, and 11 years in marketing as product manager, marketing manager, general manager based out of Mumbai. About 15 years worked for BASF, a German MNC. Till 2012 to 2015, he was the chairman and managing director for BASF Bangladesh Limited. Also a vice president at Bangladesh German Chamber of Commerce, member at Foreign Investor Chamber of Commerce and Industries. He delivered a guest lecture in business schools like IIM Ahmedabad, Nazim Manger Mumbai, PSG, and Tamil Nadu Agriculture University Coimbatore. Now I request our speaker to take over this session.
Can you all see the screen?
Perfect, sir.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So good morning, my dear students. And first of all, thanks to the opportunity given by Dr. Professor Narayanan and Professor Sriraman to address the MBA students of DJAME. I'm really pleased to be here this morning with you all. More than anything else, talking to the generation next is always a pleasure and encouraging for all of us. And I would like to first of all thank profusely Devi Nandini for the generous introduction and Sindhura in introducing the topic. She brilliantly touched base on a couple of points that I would have touched in any case. Yeah, very good. So I don't think I should take any more time. We can jump into the session because we should also try to close by 1:30, I guess, at lunchtime. Because thanks to the university and first MBA training that went through very well, as I understand. So, my dear students, basically, I think Sindhura nicely touched base on the importance of rural market in 1 or 2 bullet points, talking about and touching base on the reference of IBEF, what is that? Indian Brands Equity Foundation. As a matter of fact, I also referred this Indian Brands Equity Foundation for some of the statistics, just to understand the current trend. So the topic today we are talking about is brand positioning and promotion in rural markets. So let me take you through. Oops. What is that? It's not moving.
Yeah, so it's moving.
Okay, good. So just to give you, although I've been introduced very well, just to let you guys know that 50% of my career path of 36 years I've spent in marketing, be it national, be it global, or be it regional. So within that marketing roles in national, global, and regional, I worked as a product manager for about 9 years. So if you ask me, out of my 36 years of career path, what is that excited me? I would say in one word, it is the job of the product manager. Because as I was told then when I took over the responsibility in the year 1989 in American Cyanamid, my president and managing director, who was an Indian American, used to tell product manager is like the father and mother of the product. You can make it or break it. So that is the kind of importance of product management. So I'm really pleased again to talk with you all about this. Okay, we will touch base on this broad topics, and that's what you see here. Just to talk about in a minute or so the changing scenario between urban to rural markets. And the second thing, let's look at this market study, because I just now heard from Dr. Narayanan about the kind of consumer market research that the Institute is giving importance to, which is very, very true. And it's a wonderful thing that the Institute is doing. The third is brand positioning. We will jump into that. And of course, without a value pricing here, when I say value, it is not economy, but it is a real value to the product in terms of what is the value it delivers. And of course, how do we promote making use of the positioning and the pricing part of it. And there comes pull and push strategies. How do we involve? And then of course, if you want to be sustainable in the market, having positioned your product right, you definitely need to have what is called brand equity, and that comes through the customer loyalty. All right, I think this Sindhura nicely touched base already. If you look at the rural Indian market, just to give you the latest example of hand sanitizer, which we got familiarized only in the last couple of years, it says that 4.44 crore households in the rural markets have used it, as opposed to 4.26 crore households in the urban area. Another important thing which we need to note here is, when we talk about household in a village or in rural market, it's a minimum of 5 or 6 people. Grandparents, parents, and at least a couple of young kids, okay? Whereas when it comes to urban, today with the nuclear family setup, it could be a 2 or 3 or 4 at the most. So the number of individuals is even more when it comes to rural Indian usage in terms of hand sanitizer. Of course, the wash liquid still has a larger share in urban market, which is okay. Now, the other point we got to know from Sindhura also is this, which is basically 1/3 of FMCG sales is coming from rural India. Here, rural India combines the villages as well as the semi-urban markets, as they call it. And I must also confess here, it is not the typical rural India, which was conceived maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because with the kind of transportation connectivity, with the kind of media connectivity, TV exposure and so on and so forth, plus children live in the village and come to the urban areas for working and so on, you cannot literally have a watertight compartment of urban India and rural India. It is, in today's context, it is more or less seamless. Imagine a person living in a village coming for construction work in a city like Coimbatore, and after his construction work in the day, he picks up a couple of sachets of shampoo to wash his head. How do you call it? It is sold in the geography of city called Coimbatore, but then actual user is coming from the village. This is something we need to really, really factor in. And looking at one another example of the product, which is all of us know, this Maggi noodles from Nestle. Just look at the number, it is mind-boggling. In 2007, I understand they covered only 1,000 villages out of 650,000 villages, which we heard just now. It went up to something like 89,000 villages in 2019, in just about a couple of years. Imagine the amount of work and the intense contact program these guys would have had to reach that kind of a number. And the plan seems to cover 120,000 villages in 2024, which is not far away, 3-4 years down the line. So this is the kind of power of rural markets today in India, and we cannot afford to lose sight of rural market going forward. Be it anything, it could be food and beverage, it could be medical care, healthcare products, or it could be household or personal care product. If you look at FMCG, for all you know, and again, from the statistics standpoint, roughly about 20% comes from food and beverages, and about 30% comes from healthcare products, which includes, of course, the OTC products, OTC from the chemist shop and so on. And about 50% comes from household and personal care. Don't undermine the personal care in rural India, please. They are as conscious about our urban customer. You can see them having a nice handbag. You can see them nicely dressed up. You can see them nicely, in a presentable form. It is not anymore, they just come like that. No. So this is something we need to really take into account. And then a couple of points from a marketing angle, if I could touch base, is basically when we say market attractiveness, enough is said about rural India, which is nothing but a market size and the cumulative average growth rate. So it is the growth rate and the market size that determines the market attractiveness. Of course, when it comes to market share, which the big companies are trying to grab higher share going forward, it's basically increasing the width and increasing the depth. So when you do both in terms of number of dealers, number of users, and so on and so forth, you get the width. And then when you increase the usage part of it, you get into the depth. And here comes the rural market becoming handy. All right. Now, the changing scenario. As marketing students, you must all be familiar with the red ocean, blue ocean strategy. I'm not getting into the details of blue ocean. However, a couple of points if I can touch base. In red ocean, which is basically competing in the existing market, dog-eat-dog competition. You fight for space and you fight for the market share and so on. Whereas when we talk about blue ocean, it's to create uncontested market space. I would say here may not be totally uncontested, maybe less contested market space in the rural India. Second is, in red ocean, we always try to beat the competition. Competition is considered as an enemy. At least in the 90s, there used to be books called Marketing Warfare. Al Ries and Jack Trout, very famous guys. The beat the competition is literally kill the guy. That's the kind of, the drive used to be there for the companies and the sales force when you talk about. Whereas when it comes to blue ocean, you just make the competitor irrelevant. Create your own market, create your own space. And in red ocean, again, it is exploiting the existing demand, which is basically fish out where fish are. This is the usual conventional school of thought. But then imagine the amount of competition that you get into and the kind of share that you will get and the amount of efforts that you have to put in to gain that share. Whereas when you create a new market and capture a new demand, you are the leader. So you can call the shots the way you want. Now, when you look at the changing scenario, I've simply superimposed the contents into urban and rural as opposed to red and blue ocean. It is just the same. In a rural Indian market, as I understand the whole size in the year 2016, it was only 30 billion. When we talk about 29 point something billion in the year 2016. Whereas when it comes to 2020, it was estimated at $100 billion. But going forward by 2025, the estimate appears to be $220 billion. This is exactly what this rural India can offer. When I say rural here, it includes villages and semi-urban areas. All right. And as I just mentioned, this consumer market research is again very close to my heart because information is the power. More and more you come to know about what is happening in the marketplace with the customers, with the distribution channel and so on, you get to know what has to be done. Basically understanding the lay of the land. We all know, whether it is India or abroad, the elections are won with the political strategists nowadays. And what is their strength? All from Blue XYZ jumps into the fray, and then he's called political strategist, and few big parties have used him and possibly won the elections with his contribution. And what do they do? Something different. It is basically the database management. It happened in the US some years ago. It happened in the UK. It's happening in India now. So including politics, including elections, the data power is becoming more and more important because you get to know based on the kind of response, you can cluster people, what is that they look for. Based on the choice of products, you can get to know what is that they're looking for. So this is exactly the other way around, how you can then push your own products or the related products for that matter. The important point here is, again, it is something very, very important, which I always keep telling, I've been telling to my team members or wherever I've been talking to, there is something called the felt need, which is visible. There is something called unfelt need, which is not visible. As a marketeer, you trigger that. If I can give you a small example, way back maybe 20, 30 years ago, all of us are familiar with Surf from Unilever. Ariel is another detergent which Procter & Gamble brought into the market. But they didn't jump into the market just like that. They did an intense research, consumer research. And then they figured out, you see, we have evolved in terms of washing clothes. In the past, we used to use Sunlight bar soap. The detergents evolved from Sunlight bar soap to some powder and so on and so forth. Now there is a washing machine. You put two spoons of Surf Excel or whatever, and the damn thing gets cleaned. Yeah. But still, because of our old habit and the kind of tropical situation in which we are living, all said and done, the collars and cuffs, they used to use a bar soap to clean. This is an interesting thing these guys, Procter & Gamble guys, figured out when they were looking and surveying the maids or the homemakers and so on. They figured out these people were using the bar soap to clean the dust in the collar and cuff, despite using some detergent powder. They said, why? No, that's how it will go. Now these guys came with an idea of, if you use Ariel, this is totally an unfelt need, which they triggered. So when you use Ariel, you don't have to use this bar again. Just use Ariel and you're done with your washing clothes, not only washing the clothes, which is felt, but also your unfelt need of cleaning your cuff from the collar, which is a brilliant thing. And then they didn't leave at that. They went to massive sampling with small sachets and covered as many households as possible. And then followed up with another survey. And then that Ariel became a click later on. So this is exactly how you can trigger. There are a lot of examples in which I have used personally in agrochemical area also, which I will talk about. So this is just to easily refer what is an unfelt need. And then comes the rural infrastructure and the characteristics for that matter. Basically, it is again the lay of the land that we need to understand. Do we have a post office there? Do we have a hospital there? Do we have a school there? Do we have a panchayat office? What is the kind of structure in which the villages or the semi-urban areas are operating? Because based on that, and depending on your product line, you can then decide whether it is a village to go in for or not the village to go in for. If you have a medical product and there is no hospital, there is no PHC, what is the point spending your time there? This is exactly the power. And this is exactly what the database generation is all about. And then comes your distribution dealer network, because without a commercial channel, you will not be able to reach millions of households in a country like this. You can do to some extent, but then if you have to use, particularly for FMCG product and agro inputs product, your end user is the ultimate user like you and me or a farmer. And there are millions. It is not like automobile where it could be B2B. This is B2C. And if you have to reach that, if you have to have an efficient marketing of B2C, you definitely need to have a good, reliable channel network. And then here comes, I would like to touch base on this e-Chowpass. I'm sure some of you must have heard about ITC e-Chowpass, which they started in the year 2000. And I had an opportunity to work very closely with then managing director of ITC Agrotech, Shiv Kumar by name. And we have spent a lot of time in Bombay discussing, because they were at the beginning of setting up this ITC e-Chowpass in villages. They started with Madhya Pradesh, and we had a project in Madhya Pradesh when I was working for American Cyanamid. And then we literally made use of this channel. And it is so brilliant. And that point in time, their target was to set up 20,000 e-chowpals across the country. But then, of course, now as I understand, they ended up with 6,000 across the country. Now they are upgrading to a different level altogether, whereby they are planning to do some hand-holding to agri-startups. So it's a brilliant upgradation what ITC is doing. And this e-chowpal is an admiring thing, because in a village where there is no landline, believe me, with the kind of a high bandwidth, they set up internet connectivity. In a farmer's house, because every farmer knows, within the village, there are always some people who are noticed. He or she might be working in a post office, he or she might be working in a rural bank branch, or maybe a teacher. So they identify people like that and use their small space to set up this internet connectivity. And any farmer can come, make use of the internet, know that day's weather condition, rain condition, whatever is required. More importantly, what is the price in which market? Accordingly, if the farmer has come with his tractor loaded with grains, it is just standing outside the house, knowing the price. In the next minute, he can push his tractor and the trolley to the market where the price is the best. So the kind of direct marketing, direct touch with the end user came into existence in the year 2000 brilliantly well. So today, 35,000 villages are covered by ITC chowpals, with a number of 6,000 in 10 states that include MP, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, and so on. So this is something we need to understand going forward. What exists when we talk about product positioning or branding or whatever you want? So basically, the point is the information is the key. Now, as a marketing guy, as I said, I cannot resist without touching base on this slide, because this I must have used possibly 100 times in my presentations. Basically, when you talk about this, I learned from Unilever, believe me, way back in, I think, mid-90s or so. When you talk about a marketing strategy, what is it all about? Increase users, increase usage, increase uses. Sounds simple. Increase you, increase you, increase you. Obviously, user is nothing but the number of users. Keep moving from one user to another, expand the base of the number of users. Simple penetration strategy. When it comes to usage, it is talking about the depth of usage. The toothpaste guys, you think they're happy with promoting, paste once, you're all right? No, they will say, brush your teeth before you go to bed. That is simply increasing the usage. Simple example. And this holds good in many products as well, whether it is agro or any other product for that matter. The third important thing is the uses. Here comes the creativity. What is that one product can do something else? What is that one product can do something else? So the same detergent could be used for washing buffaloes that they create. The villager may create, but you may or may not be in the position to promote that. But then you need to find out where else the same product could be used. This is basically a development part or a different use part of it. Because without having this kind of a background or the base, you're not then getting into the brand positioning. Now comes to our topic, key topic, which is brand positioning. And as all of you know, brand positioning is nothing but the value proposition or the perception. I may say I'm a great guy, but then I should be perceived by others as a great guy. And it depends on the kind of value that I deliver. Not just by saying I'm a great guy. No, I have to prove myself that I'm a great guy, and it has to be perceived the same way. Here comes the success story of your brand position, because the brand has to live up to the expectations of the customer, live up to the perception by the customer. Otherwise, you're lost. Some of the examples which you're all familiar with, Nescafe. When I say Nescafe, what comes to your mind? It is instant coffee. But do you all know, maybe most of you were not born then, when Nescafe was launched in the possibly early 60s or so, it was a flop. You know why? In the coffee drinking area, when they launched this product, it was perceived as a lazy woman's solution. You know why? We were those days used to fry, bake the beans or fry the beans, and grandma used to fry the beans to the particular extent, and then there is a small machine attached to the slab, kitchen slab, and then you grind it. You literally grind it, and children wake up with that flavor, aroma of coffee. Okay, particularly in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Okay, and then use the fresh milk, hot milk, and then you have your filter coffee. This was the kind of custom they were used to. The moment you bring in Nescafe and you say, the marketeers said, take a teaspoon, put it in the milk, and you're done. Oh my God, you guys are thinking we are all lazy? No, it flopped. It had a negative connotation. Then, realizing this again through a consumer research, Nestle guys repositioned it as Nescafe instant coffee for busy homemakers, because you have to get your husband ready. You have to get your children ready for the school. So you're literally, you're running from the room to room and room to kitchen and so on. So this gives you a brilliant relief in the morning. So that's how they repositioned this. So this is exactly then sitting in the consumer's mind. Surf, again, all of you know that Lalita Ji, the mascot of Surf, it is intelligent woman's choice. Which lady will not like it? Which lady will not like it? You have an emotional hook saying that it is intelligent woman's choice. Quality, of course, because it washes more number of clothes compared to a competitive brand, but then it is intelligent woman's choice. Nobody will forget this. Gripe water, all of us know. Give gripe water, grandma says, because I gave you when you were a young kid. Again, an emotional hook. There is no, she's not describing what gripe water will do. She's simply telling, that's what I did. Child is crying, what do I do? Just give gripe water, that's what I did to you. Very simple. Colgate. Child born, not yet born, will know it is toothpaste, and that's how exactly it is. And then they keep only proliferating the brands for sensitive tooth, this, that, charcoal, and all kinds of things. Bata is again, when you talk about footwear, it is just Bata. Godrej refrigerator, again, I don't know how many of you are aware, when Godrej introduced a refrigerator in the market, it was in the early 80s. You know how they launched it in TV ads in the mid 80s or so? They said the refrigerator with puff technology. What is puff? P-U-F. Polyurethane foam, which every refrigerator needs to have. Without PUF, refrigerator will not work. But then these guys promoted it as a kind of a positioning thing. A refrigerator with puff technology, big deal, but it is not his fault. When others are not using, doesn't mean that I cannot use it. They used it very effectively. Amazon, I don't have to talk to the generation next. Flipkart, I don't have to talk to. Walmart, I don't have to talk to. Starbucks, I don't have to talk to, because all these are in the recent past and all of you are familiar with how these guys have positioned themselves brilliantly well. Today, 4 or 5 years old kid knows Amazon, because every third day something or other keeps coming to the house through Amazon. Starbucks, it's an amazing marketing thing. The country which does not grow a single bean of coffee is a market leader in Starbucks. Can you all imagine this? They procure coffee beans from all over the world, Vietnam to India to all kinds of places. But then it is that brew that makes Starbucks different. And that's the important thing. This is more of a conceptual slide. I don't think we need to spend much time on this. Basically, how do you want to, depending on your product line that you choose, how do you want to position your product? If you were between traditional and value, here the value they say is basically economy. If your LO is your brand current position, you need to move towards the innovative as well as luxury, which I call it as value proposition. And this is basically on the opposite side of the spectrum. So this is exactly what we need to think about. Now, some more examples in terms of, because these are all easy things that you can easily correlate. They're not, this Coca-Cola, Dow, and Harley Davidson, these guys are not talking about the product features. It's dark in color, it is sugar. No, nothing of those features. They only talk about the benefit and the benefit and the benefit. or the feel-good factor. Feel energetic and vibrant. What does it mean? It's like intoxication. Dove, feel confident and glowing skin. Who will not like it? And feel free and enjoy the American dream. So this is all kind of again and again and again, the emotional hook and talking about the benefit and the value proposition part of it. Now, the other thing is when you talk about the brand positioning, you need to always look at what is that in the brand that will resonate the customer expects, as we were talking about. Now I'm jumping into the typical agro market or agro input examples. This I have literally lived with, because when I say repositioning Thymet-10G and Dermat 20% EC, I moved to Bombay as product manager for these two products. Thymet-10G has a brilliant case history. It was a granular. Now it has moved hands from one to another. It's a granular soil insecticide. This is to control some insects in the soil and on the crop sucking insects and so on. I'm sure most of you may not be familiar with agriculture, but still simple thing like sucking insects which damage the crop and some soil beetles and so on in the soil. Okay. Now, until say late 80s, this product was using one of its properties called fumigation. This has got a contact poison, systemic poison, and a fumigation property. Contact is just contact, easy. Systemic is when you apply in the soil, the roots absorb the product into the shoot system. That's how the sucking insects, when they suck the sap of the plant, it gets knocked down because it sucks also the Thymet's effect. Okay. Now, the third element is a fumigation, because at that point in time, the granule was not like granule, it was more like a powder. Bentonite clay, with the 10% granule, it was used to kill the insects. All right. But then it was realized by the corporate that in order to improve the efficiency of the product and make a slow release or a long-term effect for the insect control, and at the same time achieve safety parameters. Although these products are, believe me, they're all in terms of lethal dose, 50 values and all, it is all absolutely safe from the standpoint of dermal toxicity and oral toxicity and all that. That's besides the point from a regulatory angle, because without those, Indian regulatory authorities will not allow, or for that matter, any world regulatory authority will not allow. I'm not getting into that. But in order to improve the safety standards from the usage standpoint, and basically handling the product standpoint, we improvised the formulation whereby the size of the granule became bolder. The bentonite clay chip was chosen from a different mesh size. And when you bake it to a particular temperature, the granule becomes like a sponge. In that sponge, you put a drop of water, what happens? The entire sponge absorbs that, right? Same way, the technology was the entire clay chip gets impregnated with the 10% of this active ingredient of Thymet-10G, which was basically 4-8. Okay. The moment we change the formulation from powder to granule, the original method of application did not work. Andhra Pradesh, one state, was selling something like 750 or 800 tons in the mid-80s, which dropped to 150 to 200 tons. Severe drop because the new formulation, based on the old methodology of application, did not work. In the past, farmer used to just broadcast the granule at the bottom of the plant, and the brown plant hopper, which used to be sucking the plant sap, which used to be at the bottom of the cluster. And it was knocking down. The fumigation effect, getting choked, the insects are getting choked, and then it was getting knocked down. But with the moment you change the formulation, same way if you apply, no, it takes some time for the root to absorb the chemical into the system. And then where is the question of killing brown plant hopper? It did not work. It was a major problem because major sales comes from that one state. 1/3 of sale used to come from that one state. And then when we did this consumer study, we realized this is exactly what was happening. Nothing to blame, because when it was positioned, that's why I'm coming to this point, positioning that point in time possibly was right. But then we should have repositioned it based on the new formulation, which took some time until such time we were hit. In the past, the posters and all the promotional materials used to carry a paddy picture with all the grains in that, which means absolutely a matured paddy crop. Okay. And so the moment you see the picture speaks 1,000 words. For the farmer, it is a matured crop with panicle and the grains and so on. That is the indication that I should use it at that time. But it did not work with the new formulation. So we had to literally reposition, focusing on the systemic property of the granule, change of the formulation. So we had to reposition, saying a safer, bolder granules, highlighting the systemic property, whereby it has to be applied at the early stages like 20 days and 25 days. So we put a picture which is young in its stage, like green, 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 and you apply at that stage, and then it clicked. It took, of course, 2 years' time to regain that kind of volume to 600 plus tons, but then that was a story of time at Tenji. So how repositioning had to be done because of certain other reasons. It has nothing to do with the product. It was something to do with the formulation per se. So this is what is important. And then coming to Dermat 20% EC, again, until late 80s or so, Dow Chemicals, as you know, they were marketing this product through one company called Moti. The brand name was Dursban, D-U-R-S-B-A-N. It's also a termiticide, by the way, used for termites control. And they were stuck at around, I think, 600 KL, 600,000 liters of volume. That's about it. But then they wanted to expand because this product has been very big in the United States and in the Western world. So then American Cyanamid got a technical tie-up with Dow Chemicals. And then we imported this active ingredient and then we formulated here in India and then started marketing. You won't believe a 600 KL formulation, 20% EC is equivalent to something like 130, 140 tons of technical, which went up as high as close to 2,800 tons technical or so. I'm talking about, say, early 90 towards 2004 or 2005. In a matter of 15 years' time, it moved to so many tons of technical capability. Because then Dow set up its manufacturing, Gada Chemicals, a major Indian conglomerate, set up the manufacturing, and that's exactly what happened. The success story behind this was, basically, again, we repositioned this product to its, just not the feature, but the kind of benefit it derived, because it's a soil and a contact insecticide. It's a very, very powerful soil and contact insecticide. It was not only killing, in, for example, in cotton, there are some deadly product called the Prodinia worm. It can finish your cotton crop, but it gets into hibernation in the soil. During nighttime, it comes out and eats, but then during daytime, it comes and eats outside, but then in the nighttime or dusk time, it gets into the soil. So if you have to attack this Prodinia, you have to time it in a manner, it has to be in the evening, and it has to be applied on the soil. So these are the tricks of the trade which we learned over a period of time. And when we reposition this in cotton crop, rice crop, absolutely crops across the country and geography across the country, including tea plantations. Actually, I was looking for some teaser campaign that I did in tea plantations. I could not lay my hands on. Maybe once when I figure it out, I will courier it to the institute for sure. Yeah. It was a teaser campaign with starting with D, with a deer, swift in action. It doesn't say anything about Dermat. And then look for the next mailer. That's all it says. And those days it used to be mailed. 3 days later, another card goes. It says U, umbrella, a broad spectrum control, broad spectrum protection. Again, we don't say Dermat, but then we only said a broad spectrum and an umbrella picture. Look for the next mailer. And then it went R, M, E, T, and then T for tea gardens. And then we closed it with a customer call. And that was a brilliant click. So when it comes to marketing, there is nothing like urban or rural. Consumer is a consumer. customer is a customer. How creative you can go. I think that's exactly the brilliance of a marketing manager or the product manager, to use the creativity cap to make sure that it appeals to the customer, end user. And then comes this positioning of stomp and pursuit, as opposed to the repositioning. Let me look at the time. I think I'm okay. Yeah. When we talk about positioning it right first time, because there were a lot of learning stories with Dimet and Dermot, stomp is a herbicide, pursuit is a herbicide. Stomp, of course, I will not dwell much because it was used in onions and many other crops. It is a pre-emergence herbicide, which means before the weeds, in a field of onion, you will have what is called unwanted plants, which we call as weeds, 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 okay? Unwanted plants. Because if you allow the weeds, onion will not grow. So if you want the onion to grow well, utilizing all the nutrition that you give to onion, you need to suppress or kill the weeds, which will otherwise compete for nutrition with the main crop. So stomp is a pre-emergence herbicide which controls the weeds. Initially, it was like, again, to make it clear, we said, as and when the weeds emerge. Please understand, the moment you say before the weeds emerge and then you apply stomp, weeds will still come out, because the root of the main crop has gone deep inside, 3-4 inches inside, whereas the weeds are on the top layer of the soil, weed seeds. And then when it germinates, it will still germinate. So that is why your positioning has to be right in saying, instead of saying before the weeds emerge, it makes a difference, please understand. Before the weeds emerge, it kills. You need to say, as and when the weeds emerge, it kills. Stomp kills the weeds as and when it emerges. It makes a difference. So you need to make the message as clear as possible so that it is understood the way in which you want the customers to understand it. Okay? Pursuit is a brilliant thing because, again, it's a fantastic success story. I can write a book on this Pursuit. We got 2 full years we worked on this product because those days, American Home Products Corporation, before that it was American Cyanamid. For American Cyanamid, it was only a $2 billion company. And in that $2 billion company, those days, I'm talking about 800 million used to come from one product, Pursuit. 40% of their global turnover was from one product, Pursuit. A brilliant, brilliant leguminous herbicide used in soybeans and peanuts and so on and so forth. It controls a broad spectrum of weeds. That is one of its major, the benefits part of it. Okay. Now, when we talk about Pursuit, positioning it right first time, I must share with you, it was a 2-year-long struggle. So when I left the country, it was 2002. The sale was hardly 180 KL or something like that. But then in 6 or 7 years' time, the product hit 1 million liter volume. That time I was in Singapore and I had the opportunity of listening to the divisional head who made it 1 million liters and made a presentation to the Singapore team. So, of course, we implemented the tricks inside the book and outside of it. A typical blue ocean strategy was implemented here. Madhya Pradesh was the state chosen for this purpose to start with, but already there were markets, we call it Western MP. There were a lot of markets where they were used, farmers were used to using herbicides, different herbicides, pre-emergence, early post, and all kinds of things. So this product we literally took to places where they don't even know what is a herbicide, but they have huge stretch of lands. And what is that they were having? They were having yields of hardly 2 bags or 3 bags, which means hardly 150 kilos or 200 kilos per acre. Whereas the yield in the United States is something like 1.5 to 2 tons per acre. So where is 1.5 to 2 tons or 2,000 kilos per acre, and where is 200 kilos per acre? So what happens is all these weeds, they eat whatever the nutrition that is available in the soil or whatever you give to the soil. So where is the scope for the plant to make use of the nutrition that you give or which is already there in the soil? So this is what was happening in the markets which are totally non-traditional. They don't even know what is a herbicide. In those markets, we started promoting this product. And the first thing we did was, as I said, the database generation. We generated those days something like database for 40,000 farmers. A detailed questionnaire was, and we used college students to collect the data and put it into the system, whereby with all the kinds of commands, if I want to know, give me the list of the farmers in Madhya Pradesh having one tractor, it'll throw me the list. And that list will have farmer name, address, how many acres he has got, what kind of crops he grows, what kind of products he uses, all kinds of things. And this again helped in market segmentation. This literally helped in market segmentation. So whatever the piece that we talk about in marketing, the product, the price, the promotion, and the place, all were used in a comprehensive manner. There is no point promoting a product and leave the market dry. You need to make sure the product is available in the marketplace. So as and when the farmer comes and asks for the product, it is available. So we made sure the sales team, the technical team, the marketing team, they worked together in making this product right, in positioning it right first thing, in the minds of the farmer, what is it they can expect. So this is basically the product that is used for a broad spectrum weed control and increase in yield. And just by saying it is not adequate, we conducted something like 1,800 demonstrations. Why I will focus on demonstration in the coming slide is mainly because the power of the demonstration which we used. 1,800 demonstrate. The moment when I said 1,800, Americans did not believe me. No, you are kidding. No, I'm not kidding. It is not 1 acre demonstration which they have in their mind. I'm talking about a 10 meter by 10 meter demonstration, just to show how the weeds are controlled as opposed to the farmer practice, how at the end of the crop season, this particular plot had extra yield compared to that 10 by 10. So based on 10 by 10 square meter, you then extrapolate it to 1 acre and then compare the kind of yield increase in percentage. So basically we proved through demonstrations, followed by, we brought in a lot of farmers to see. You see, to the farmer, particularly in rural India, seeing is believing. You might tell 100 things, but they have to see to believe. And the reliability of source or the credibility of the source is equally important. Who says is more important than what is said? You know, we may say the other way around, what is said is more important to me than who says it. But as far as the rural market is concerned, by and large, it is concerned, for them, who says is more important than what is said. So if Panchayat chairman says, that's gospel truth, no question. If a bank manager says, yes. If a doctor, local medical doctor says, yes. Veterinary doctor, agricultural officer. So they go by the kind of a credibility of source. So we brought all these influences, as we call, to see the plot where we have conducted demonstrations. We brought busloads of people to show the farmers how the product has performed. And that's how the story went on. For 2 full years, we literally worked and worked and worked before we took off with the actual sales program. That's the time we tied up with, as I said, ITC Chaupal, EAD Parry co-marketed with us. We did this also. Although, as I said, American Cyanamid and Monsanto used to fight like street dogs in the United States. Monsanto is another big giant, as you know, American giant. But in India, American Cyanamid and Monsanto, we co-marketed the same brand. Because it is basically, yours is yours and mine is mine. Your channel is different, my channel is different. So we are basically talking about a concept of opening up a early post or post-emergence market towards this product. So this is exactly how a co-marketing came into place. And against the wishes of headquarters, American Cyanamid, we convinced them somehow and we did this co-marketing, and it was a brilliant success. That's why I said we practiced everything inside the book and outside of it kind of thing. So this is a storyline and a very, very successful story wherein if you position your product right, it'll stay forever, at least for a long, long time. Just to give you another light example, we have to print this leaflet or the promotional literature in several languages across the country, all these agrochemical products, okay? And I'm not familiar in Hindi, although I understand, I cannot read or write, I cannot comprehend much. So I used to sit with individual language guys, Hindi guy, Hindi product manager, or somebody in Andhra, I have to call them and ask him, how does he interpret? So only English I can say, this is the positioning statement. Come on, tell me what is it you will say. You know what? The Hindi product manager, I had a product manager who is from Uttar Pradesh. He speaks brilliant Hindi. He said, "Parsut ka kamal, katai tak." Parsut ka kamal means parsut's wonder. Katai means harvest. Tak means up to. So basically, parsut's wonder up to harvest. It sounded brilliant, but then we didn't want to immediately print it and promote it. No. We tested it again. We took it to the field and then tested with the farmers. And when they see, katai tak, no, when I was harvesting, there were weeds. Aha, it will not help. When I say pursuits control lasts until harvest, it cannot happen because at the time of harvest, you will have weeds. But the point is, those weeds will not harm the crop because crop is already overtaken. It will not be impacted in terms of yield, but it is very difficult to then convince them. Again, you have to give another storyline. So we changed the slogan, we modified in a manner, long-term control, broad spectrum, but more important, focus on increase in yield. That's exactly how we position the product. All right, just to give you, I was trying to again look at the pictures and photographs. Unfortunately, I could not lay my hands as I picked up from Google. This was powerful granular. We changed the pack. As you see here, the small icons, which is nothing but Cyanamid's logo, the first part of the logo. Because those days, a lot of fake Thymotenji used to be there. So in order to beat that, this is also part of a campaign, look for and ask for kind of thing. Look for this logo in the leaflet, in the pack, in everything. And this is the pursuit label. Actually, they modified the label of late. As you see here, below the pursuit, you see 2 leaves and then 2 arrows on the top, 2 arrows below. Because the product works like that. It works like that. Downward movement as well as upward movement. All right. When you promote any product for that matter, positioning is not enough without pricing it right. Here comes, I think, part of the storyline I have already shared in the sense that the value pricing. Value here, I keep repeating, I'm talking about the value, real value that it delivers. Price means deliverable value, what the product delivers, and the perceived value, which means the farmer or the end user has to perceive the value of the product in as much as you think it will deliver, and it is actually delivered. This is exactly what I mean here. Okay. Now, when we talk about the basics is nothing but if you ask any common, product manager for that matter, I'm using it with a liberty. Okay, competitor's product is 100 rupees. Let me price, if he's an aggressive product manager, he'll say, let me price it at 90 rupees and then keep moving, aggressive. Or he can say, my cost is 100 rupees. Let me put a margin of 20%, market it at 120 rupees. Some basics. Whereas that is not the right way of pricing. And for similar, I'm talking about the case study 2 here, a thumping success supported by a market study, which was for pursuit, which was basically for pursuit. Basically, we went through a market study to understand, we conducted a survey with some 500 or 600 farmers telling this is what the product does. What is it you'll be willing to pay? It was about some 400 to 350 to 400 was the number we could arrive at majority. And then we said, this will also give you an additional benefit of, you don't have to do this. How much you save on that, so you can save it here. It's like your cuff collar being saved. You know, the cost towards the detergent bar that you save, the cost of it, you save here by using the same product. how much you can say? Okay, 450 rupees was the number we got. And then we said, you are going to get something like a minimum of 2 bags extra yield. That means 100 kilos extra, whatever was the price then. So this is the kind of benefit you get. What is that you are now willing to pay? Sometimes it is aided, sometimes it is unaided. You ask initially unaided. If answer does not come forth, you say aided. You think 700 rupees? No, that's little on the higher side. 650? Yes, no. 600, boom, go. So out of 500, a majority, 70-80% of the farmers, they say 550 to 600 rupees is the right pricing. And believe me, we priced it at 550 and it was a click. No questions asked. In the normal course, I would have priced it 20% above my competitor. My headquarters would have been very happy with me, no problem. But then that was not the right thing to do. So this is the success story of pricing strategy. Then you talk about the product that it will deliver in terms of its value, the price that is perceived as value, everything goes well. Case study failure, something similar, but then what went wrong there was the product did not live up to its expectation. It was a normal broad spectrum fungicide. Fungicide means it controls the disease, okay? It was a product that came from Shell platform when Cyanamid acquired the product. So this product is like any other common product available in the market, broad spectrum, very simple. But then it has got a multi-site function, and then it helps you in resistance management. So we positioned that as help in resistance management because of its multi-site activity, but then priced it too high. Multi-site resistance management is all fine, positioned it fine, but pricing-wise, we priced it very high. Whereas the other products also deliver the same thing. What is that I get more here? So the pricing and the positioning did not gel each other. So for a while it took off, but then it was realized it did not take off any further. So then we corrected the pricing strategy, then it picked up. Okay, now the tools again. Now you're all familiar with all these tools. I don't have to spend much time, but still, broadly speaking, when we categorize under mass media, you have FM channels which are doing a good job. You have the print media, but print media, it has got its own plus and minus. First of all, it is expensive and the reach is relatively lesser. FM, people can keep hearing. TV, again, it's brilliant in today's context or even 20 years ago, but again, cost is prohibitive. Video on wheels was something that we used those days. It is nothing but an advertisement through a mobile van. Nowadays, it is used for even medical camps and so on. So the backside is used for the projection. So in the evenings, when it is done during the daytime, it goes into the villages, distributes leaflets. In the evening, it opens up the backside of the vehicle, opens up the screen. You put some famous Bollywood songs, Kollywood songs to attract the crowd. 100, 200 farmers come, sit down, and then you throw your documentary film. So this used to be the kind of mass media. And even now, this video on the wheels or mobility or the mobile vans in villages, even today it helps. You can believe me. Because even 2 years ago, we ran a campaign for one of our Rotary programs projects in Kadambadi village. Believe me, the response was fantastic. It was an awareness campaign for cancer care. Okay, reminder media at point of purchase, vantage points, common things, posters, banners, wall signs, and mobile panels, and balloons. Don't think rural marketing does not use the fancy hydrogen balloons in the villages. We have used it long ago, 20 years ago. Huge balloon up in the sky, and anyone can see it from a distance. Stomp is visible on the sky. Pursuit is visible on the sky. So everything is just reminder media. It doesn't speak much, but it reminds you. The most important thing in this brand promotion is you need to make sure two things. One, in terms of the design content, you need to follow the same color combination, same font, same design. You cannot use something for mass media. You cannot use something for the board, something for the banner. No, 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 no. It has to be aligned. What you see, what you hear, everything should be aligned in terms of color, everything. And then comes the personal reference, because this is the most important thing. This is exactly how it can click. As I said, you hear something in the FM channel, you get reminded, oh, okay, this is what I heard in the FM. This is what I saw in the TV. Okay, it gets reminded in the printer, in the poster, in the banner. Fine, fantastic. But then it has to click with the visual aid or with a contact person, with a mailer and flyer and so on. The flyer is something you can leave behind, is most important, most effective tool, particularly in a rural market. And a small trick you can always do is, we all believe in any faith for that matter. The moment you put a faith picture in that, if you're marketing in Punjab, you put any guru's picture, nobody will ever throw this. Half picture is Guru Nanak's picture, and backside or half side is your product information. No one will throw it. So much so, if you're talking about West Bengal, although Ganesh is across the country very common, but you need to look at Kali picture in West Bengal. And Maharashtra, Western region possibly, it is Ganesh, and maybe North, it is Krishna. Something on these lines. You need to literally sensitize yourself and customize to the geography, to the kind of faith that is being practiced there, so that you don't antagonize people. So you need to literally gel with the stream there. Mailers is something, again, in rural India, not today's context. Today people have cell phones and WhatsApp and so on. When you talk about mailers those days, again, with the kind of literacy levels being low, the farmers will seek the help of someone else to read it for him. Imagine the impact. It is not only that the guy who reads understands, who listens understands. There'll be two other guys who are listening. So, as in the bargain, 2, 3, 4 people get to know what is the content of the mailer. Contact person is something like a spokesperson in the village, because, as I said, the credibility is all important. Visualize something to touch base. It's a copy from, I copied with pride from pharmaceutical division, which used to be my elder brother division in American Cyanamid. But then initially when it was launched, my regional sales guys did not like it, but it was so useful to talk to 5 or 6 farmers. In order to give them a good clue, what we did, we printed the content at the backside. So you do it nicely so that the people in front of you can see it and understand. And then it is like those days iPad, you can say. Today iPad, those days this was iPad. All right. Some of the marketing tactics, pull and push. Again, we have talked about many of the things. Now we can just touch base on this. Field promotion, basically end user level activity. And when you talk about the push part of it, the product visibility at the point of purchase. And then all said and done, you need to really look at the channel which is linked to the feeder village. If I can give you an example, if you're talking about, that's what we did recently, cervical cancer awareness campaign coinciding WHO's launch strategy to eliminate cervical cancer by 2030. Okay. There is a vision statement by Coimbatore Cancer Care, GKNM Hospital, Rotary Clubs, and CII and Youth India, Young India. There is a vision statement saying, make Coimbatore cervical free. Okay. So if you have to do that with the vision, you need to have the feeder village is not in Erode, but it has to be in Coimbatore. So you need to make, what we did, we put this awareness banners and posters and so on in the primary health centers of Coimbatore in and around. There are 85 primary health centers for your information. Very, very powerful, because all these PHC staff, medical care, doctors and the healthcare staff, they literally know each and every household in that village. And Jundapuram, PHC, Arisipalin, PHC. You have several PHCs, urban and rural PHCs. So when you promote there, that's exactly what I mean here. You need to have the channel partner tied up with the feeder villages. So you need to promote in the feeder village, and that comes that culminates in sales to the dealer that we are talking about. Blue ocean, we talked about, and maybe a kind of a repeat or reinforcement demonstration, the end user meeting. Ask for is basically to hit the fake products in the marketplace. And you can be as creative as you want in making the, pull strategy very effective. You can, when you meet the farmer, you give a small coupon, and then when it comes to the dealer to buy, ask the dealer to collect it, and then you can, maybe in the next purchase, you can give a discount. Plenty of things are possible. I don't have to, because these are all something which are used in airlines and many, many, many things. You go to any retail stores, it's all being used, point system and so on and so forth. Okay, push is basically, as I said, product display. You need to achieve your shelf space in the dealer shop. It could be any product, it could be paint, it could be your agrochemical, it could be anything for that matter. It has to have an increased shelf space. To that extent, your design also should help. So we have to spend a lot of time in sitting there and trying to understand which label stands out. These are all some kind of a small research. You need to sit down and then again, aided, unaided, ask the farmer, anything new you see here, put your packs at random. He may say, no, don't you see any blue color striking? Now, yes. You see, now that's how you get to know the kind of color or the label for that matter. And then push it further with trade incentives on incremental sales based on retailer. If you can fix a target, but then on delta basis, you can look at that. And also the team incentives and so on. These are all basically some sales tactics or the push tactics we can look at. Now comes the loyalty and retention. As I said, loyalty is something which you have to earn, you have to command, not demand. Retention you can, customer retention, you can bind a customer with a contract, boom, return for 2 years, possible. You can have your product where there is no alternative, possible. You can make the customer technologically dependent, possible. This can only retain the customers. The moment there is an alternative, he will switch. The moment there is no more technology advantage, he will switch. The moment contract expires, he will switch. Whereas loyalty is something which will live long. Today morning, I saw one post, although 99% of WhatsApp posts are, you don't have to say it. But two things are really valuable. One post today morning, I just saw in terms of empathy building. There are 5 things by which you can enjoy customer loyalty. And one, which is basically reliability, the competency, because it is not that people are not competent. There are many people who are equally competent, but then how they can make themselves different by reliability factor, the integrity factor, the vulnerability factor, and the most important thing is the empathy. The moment you empathize the other side, you have won 50% of the battle. I learned a little bit of numerology during my sales days. Example, this is some extreme, just to kind of start the conversation with somebody who is interested in that. Something on pharmaceuticals, who is interested in that. So various subjects, but then little bit, just to kind of gain the door entry, and then you build the trust over a period of time. But at the end of the day, your product has to speak for itself. You should not forget. These are all just gaining the entry opportunity, but then it has to. Customer loyalty ultimately gives you the brand equity. All right, this is my last slide. I think I've exceeded by possibly 10 minutes.
No issues, please.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Just some takeaways. You need to be observant. If you want to be creative, you better be observe the small little things. You don't have to put your lens and then see what this guy is doing. No, not necessary, but you can always observe with your left eye and right eye kind of thing. So observation is very, very important constantly, because change is the only thing that is constant. Things are changing very, very fast nowadays. What was right 5 years ago is not right today. And what is right today, I guarantee you, 5 years down the line, it won't be right. It will not be right. So change is the only thing constant. You keep observing, keep listening, because as a marketeer, you need to listen. One of the great qualities of a good marketeer or a good leader is listen. You will gain a lot of insight. And felt, unfelt needs, we talked about positioning, we talked about, it's basically the perceived value and the value pricing. Don't forget that creativity creative pull and push strategies, customer loyalty, blue ocean. Blue ocean is the kind of a pathway. And at the end of the day, happy marketing, guys. Thank you very much for your patient listening. And I can now field your questions. Learning continues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. One of the brilliant sessions we have come across in the recent past.
Good to know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir, you were talking about eChoupal by ITC.
Yeah.
And of course, this is the most successful model as far as ITC's reach in rural India is concerned. There are two questions with reference to eChoupal. One is, how is the growth? Have they achieved what they intended to achieve in terms of number of eChoupals? That is one thing. The second one, of course, they also got into something called Choupal Sagar to begin with in Madhya Pradesh, a large retail outlet stocking all the products from A to Z, right from fabrics to tractors to power tillers to everything. You name it, they have it kind of from it. Was it a successful model, Choupal Sagar?
Choupal Sagar, I cannot comment much because, see, for all you know, in a corporate world, it holds good anywhere.
Okay.
The leadership team, the management team, to what extent they are committed to some of the initiatives or matters.
Okay.
Why I said Shivkumar, because he was so passionate about the concept eChoupal.
Yeah.
And Nareshwar that time was the Dineshwar, the chairman of ITC.
Yeah.
It gelled brilliantly well. Then they had a vice president, I think Raju by name, if I remember right.
Okay.
The kind of management team then was totally focused on this conviction of eChoupal. That's why, as I said, 20,000 was their target. They reached only 6,000. So when I inquire with my colleagues what happened, this is one reason they do give. Because when things keep changing, the priorities also keep changing. That's why I said it is very important what was right 20 years ago need not be right 10 years ago, was not right 10 years ago, and need not be right today. For sure, whatever they have done possibly is right today. I don't know.
Okay.
But the concept was brilliant. Maybe things have changed dramatically, which possibly it was not visualized. And just because they initiated, they cannot be living with it for a long time. So they have to kind of adjust it. That's why they said, now the present setup, they're looking at hand-holding the agri startups.
Okay.
They are scaling it up to a different level. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sir, you are comparing urban as well as the rural markets. Okay. Though the difference between the urban market as well as the rural market is getting blurred thanks to the advancement in technology and so on and so forth. But there are certain pockets which are considerable in number, still go by traditional beliefs and value systems kind of. And of course, even Hindustan Unilever, if I'm right, they are not able to reach the entire gamut of villages in the country. If that be the case, positioning for urban market, will it hold good for the rural market too, when the consumers are having their own traditional beliefs and value systems?
It will not.
No.
When I talk about my entire experience is with the market that you described.
Yeah.
The typical rural market. My father used it this way. My grandfather used it this way. My great-grandfather used it that way. So I will not deviate. This is why exactly what is required is two things. One, in terms of seeing is believing. Make the person in today's context believe what he sees.
Okay.
The second thing is the source credibility. What is applicable in the urban market in terms of convincing a customer through a digital media will not help there. When I say that rural market, that's what you explained now. Still, there are pockets where for sure the literacy level is not that adequate. The reach is not that adequate. There are no adequate roads inside. You need to possibly walk dilly-dallying or dangling to reach the village or to the house. Still, they are there for sure. It is not 100% we are connected. But whatever the market that is now expanding, of course, this is again an evolution process. from urban and the high-class cities like Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai. That was all Madras. That was the metro cities those days. And then now you call it tier 2 cities, wherein you have Coimbatore and several other cities. And then now I won't call Vedapatti as village in Coimbatore. Or Pilamedu. Imagine 30 years ago or 50 years ago when I was studying in Agri University here, Pilamedu was not a town. Oh, Pilamedu means the airport, full stop. Or maybe PhD institutions, that's about it. But today, Pilamedu is the center. Now you call it rural, you call it, it's a difficult thing. So much so in Bombay, Bandra, which is today one of the most posh localities, all of you know this, and a lot of Bollywood guys live there in Bandra Pali Hill. 30 years ago, when all these IMRB and medical, pharmaceutical research guys, they do the survey, Bandra was considered as rural Bombay.
So that's right.
So this is why the kind of blurred thing, I think today it is a little seamless, excepting the villages that you described.
Yeah. So the definition of rural itself keeps changing over a period of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mainly because two things. One is the physical connectivity, the road infrastructure. I would have never imagined 20 years ago we would have this brilliant road. Chennai to Trichy used to take 7 hours. Today it is 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And 500 kilometers between Coimbatore and Chennai must have taken 9 hours. Today it is 6.5, 7 hours. You name any place, Chennai to Kanyakumari. Chennai to Trichy, people hit in 3.5, 4 hours now. Nobody imagined this. This is one. Secondly, as and when the labor shortage came up in the rural areas, they started migrating towards the towns for construction work because 200 rupees per day, 300 rupees per day, you want to get this in the rural areas by doing agricultural labor. So for him, paying 5 rupees or 10 rupees now, get into the bus, get into the city, have a cup of chai, and then work, get his 200 rupees, get back home.
Yeah.
So this connectivity in terms of physical thing has literally also vanished over a period of time. Another thing, the mind connectivity also. Children are working in the town. Like I know a lot of people in the hospitals here in Coimbatore, they come all the way from Pollachi.
Yeah.
30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, they travel from Pollachi every day.
Yeah.
They live with the parents, farmhouse, but then they come to the city. So they also go back and they have all the town habits.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. Sriraman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, students can start raising questions.
Yes, sir. Participants, you can raise your hand so that I will unmute yourself so that you can ask a question. Now let me call Kalimuthu, you can ask a question. Yes, Kalimuthu.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm calling from TJ. First of all, thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Sir, my question is how much percentage of promotional budget does company allocated to rural markets?
Percentage of allocation. It's a very interesting question. Good that you asked this question because definitely when you're in the business school, this is one thought process which flashes students' mind because you are mostly exposed to the big guys like Coca-Colas and Levers and so on, who spend heavily on advertising, very heavy on advertising. Second thing is, between Unilever and Procter & Gamble or between Coca-Cola and Pepsi, their major target is to spend more so that the competitor spends more so that he bleeds in his profit. You don't have to do that in rural marketing, believe me. You need to always keep on, again, evaluating your promotional inputs. My budget was 2% of my sales. If you want the profit, or what is that? The percentage of the marketing budget, it was just 2% for promotion. And believe me, this 2% may go to 5, 10% depending on the product life cycle. At the beginning, of course, I also spent 10% when I launched this product Pursuit. But then it depends on the kind of sales projection that you give and what you achieve. So the point is, if you achieve as per your sales target for a matured product, which I would say 5 years down the line after introduction, it need not be more than 2%. As I said, at the same time, if you want to be more aggressive, it can go as high as 5%. Rural marketing, agro inputs. Don't copy paste with other products like household refrigerators and so on. No, no, no.
Right.
So, and the other thing, what is important is you need to keep on reviewing your tools, whether it makes effective, whether it makes sense. Otherwise, you will blindly be printing million posters what your previous predecessor did it, which may not be relevant today. Instead, you put up a call center and answer the question. That is what relevant today. So today you need to really look at a combination of this media in terms of print media or FM or radio audio media, or in terms of call centers, spokesperson, and so on and so forth. You need to really be looking at. So there is no fixed percentage. That is my summary. There is nothing like a fixed percentage. The real FMCGs will spend as high as maybe 10, 15, 20% also. Whereas in agro marketing, you don't need to. Initially, maybe 10%, but you need to consciously keep reducing it. For a mature product, when you talk about introduction, growth, maturity, and then decline, when it comes to real maturity, it's 2%, not more than that.
So does it include both ATL as well as BTL activities?
Come again?
This 2%. Does it include both ATL as well as BTL activities, above the line as well as below the line activities?
This is more. It's more connected to the promotion, the advertising promotion only. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Thank you,
when
sir.
you talk about incentives, and that gets into the commercial.
Right.
That's how we split it, because it's a typical long-term investment, as I keep calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, Rajat.
Rajat, you can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Rajat. I'm doing my MBA at TJ Academy. I also support my mother's business, which is we are into manufacturing of Areca leaf plates, which is 100%, and we are into collaboration with a Dutch company. So due to this pandemic, I am facing lots of hindrance, and there is no orders right now. So I'm planning to enter into a domestic market in India. So your valuable points, where should I focus on, and what are the things where I should give more attention to while coming into a domestic market?
You said the core business is, what is it you said, Areca?
Areca, which is a palm leaf product, like the Paku Mattai.
Acha, Mattai, not the
Not the leaf, sir, that sheet, that main, which is hanged up to the tree.
So you make all the plates and cutlery?
Yes, sir. No cutlery, we are into only plates. It has all many, up to like 20 plus shapes.
Mm-hmm. Because from an ecology standpoint, this is definitely catching up, I must say, because what is required in this is the reach. This again cannot be promoted online or something like that, but it has to reach, and then you need to utilize some as a catalyst. Maybe the restaurant chain or the caterers, for that matter. It may not be Annapurnas and Anandas of the world, but possibly, the private, there are plenty of caterers, and all of them use these disposable plates. So you need to really get into a hang of those caterers in the city, and then look at how you can make use of them. And if you think some kind of this is what I can share with you. In Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, there is an agri-business management course. It's a directorate, and there is a business incubation center. They also take up such projects I've seen in kind of facilitating, because they keep interacting with so many agri-related startups, for that matter. So they might be of help. If you're interested, I will give the connect to Dr. Narayanan and Dr. Sriraman.
Sure, sir.
Make use of that, because I've seen it personally. They are really helping in some of these bio products and some of these agro-related products, eco-friendly products. Yes.
Okay. I will just
You
definitely.
said, did you say you're also exporting, if I'm right?
Yes, sir. We are into it's a B2B business, which collaborated with the Dutch company called Natural Table. So from there, it's going to the USA and entire Europe.
If you're already into that, just hold your breath for some time, because all
Yes, sir.
said and done, the
I'm
market
just,
it'll open up. Not to worry.
I'm just creating a backup plan, sir.
I know it's other people are doing the other way around. People who are in domestic, they're trying to
Yes,
develop an export market. So, in my opinion, you're in a brilliant position. So hold on to that. Keep keep it alive.
Yes, sir.
The moment it's a question, I think, few months time. Let's all hope things will open up, and that's a bigger market, much bigger market.
Yes, sir.
And as a
Thank you
business,
so much.
you need to be in exports for sure.
Thanks, sir.
Good. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Yeah, Mr. Anto, you can just introduce yourself and please ask your question.
Yes, I'm Professor Anto from actually the curriculum engineers in Coimbatore. When you were talking about rural markets, I've got about 20 years in the industry. I'm also a visiting faculty in certain business schools for international marketing and related subjects. I was into industrial marketing for a long time. I was in the instrumentation sector with Tata Honeywell, Fmcg, Fisher Rosemont, the instrumentation majors. But when we talk about rural markets, which that was not the case at all, it was all industrial and marketing. The company that comes to my mind is Amul. Now, Amul company, the NDDB or Amul, was a first-class example, or is still a first-class example of rural marketing, where they really took the product. Dr. Verghese Kurian and his team really took the market from Gujarat, rural Gujarat, made it a cooperative, and that cooperative not only was a success in Gujarat, went all over India. Avin, which is in the Milk Marketing Federation of Tamil Nadu, is based on that. Milma in Kerala is based on that. No, my point I'm putting across is don't you think that Amul is one of the best examples of rural marketing and how a product should be taken to the market, and really it is sustained in the market for almost 50, 60 years now. My question is Amul an ideal example for rural marketing, and what is your take on that, sir?
It's a brilliant thing. There is no second opinion about Amul, because all said and done, it's high class example for rural marketing, because we have milk. Today, India is the largest producer of milk in terms of volume, largest producer. And not only that, it's such a product which is perishable. You cannot store it for a long time. And nook and corner, I'm talking about in the early 80s, I used to work in Ooty sales, based out of Coimbatore. In one of the corner villages in Ooty, there is a milk booth, and there is a queue of people, farmers, ladies and gents, used to give their milk in small cans to that counter, and comes a small van, picks it up, goes, and then it kind of aggregates. And then the pasteurization came into picture, and marketing. Today, there is no dearth of milk availability in the country. The per capita consumption has gone up, per capita availability has gone up. It's one of the best examples one could ever imagine, no question about it. And the kind of diversification they did, apart from, you see, it is not only, they literally thought through for a perishable commodity like milk, in terms of collection centers, in the deepest village possible, aggregating it to the smaller town, bigger town, and then to the center, where it is pasteurized, and everything in a refrigerated container once the threshold level crosses. So what many things thought about in terms of storage, the transportation, because you need to have a conditioned container, otherwise it's all gone. Classic example I can give, relate, or an equal example is polio vaccines, or today vaccine logistics and transportation. For such a huge population, it's a brilliant reach of these vaccines, nook and corner of the country. That is because of our experience in polio vaccine distribution. So from Delhi, it comes to major cities, and from Chennai, it goes to all the district headquarters, from district headquarters to primary health centers and hospitals and so on and so forth. And today, another live example is Milky Mist, Professor. Milky Mist is procuring something like 600,000 liters with some 50,000 farmers in the villages every day.
Oh,
Milky Mist, you must be knowing, they're doing a brilliant job. This is typical corporate farming, and this is exactly what should be ideally happening in agro products also, agriculture products. Thank you for that nice question. And
yes, sir. The reason why I mentioned Amul is in my childhood, I'm 55 years old, and in my childhood, I grew up on Amul. My family, my sister, brothers, we all grew up on Amul. The butter particularly was such a big hit at home, and everything about Amul, was so nice even for my childhood, that today, everybody in my family, my kids are grown up, they all live on Amul. So Amul is something that lived on us. And I'm proud to say that Dr. Varghese Kurian is actually a distant relative of mine.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Wonderful.
That's something that I never forget, and I keep boasting about it. I'm sorry, but because he's such a wonderful man.
All of us are proud about Varghese Kurian because he's the father of white revolution. Who can forget?
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi is father of the nation, and M.S. Swaminathan is father of green revolution. Varghese Kurian is father of white revolution. No one can forget it.
That's true. So we've never forgotten that. And when we became independent, our children were dying of lack of milk. And Dr. Varghese Kurian came along and brought that malnutrition and that lack of milk into a bonus supply for which the country is ever in gratitude to him. So we've never forgotten that, and really happy that Amul is still a household name. It's such a lovely brand. It's something, a taste of India, which we can never forget.
Absolutely. And their ads are also brilliant. Huh?
Yeah.
Dakuna.
Topical.
Highly creative ad campaign there.
That's right.
Exactly. I share my name with Dr. Varghese Kurian. I'm actually Professor Anto Varghese, and he's Dr. Varghese Kurian. So I'm very proud to use the word.
Wonderful. No, wonderful. All of us are proud. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Professor Anto. Sir, we have 3 more questions. Shall we take it up, sir?
Sure. I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, Darshan, you can ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself Darshan, first MBA student at DJME, sir. As I went through the profile of BASF, there were a lot of products on smart farming, sir. Actually, myself, I have submitted 2 to 3 prototypes to the business incubator in TNAU, sir, maybe a couple of years back. But I was not able to empathize with the farmers on using advanced technology, sir. They were fine with going with the traditional methods. So what do you think would be necessary to capture the minds of rural farmers to adapt or to pivot to smart farming, sir?
Good question again, because these are all the things which have to come into play. You see, all said and done, we have a challenge, what is called fragmented farming in India. So there is a kind of a myth that an advanced technology, because of the fragmented farm holding, they cannot implement.
Yeah.
That's not viable. This is a myth, standard thing. What is required is, if there are 20 farmers with small land holding, they have to be brought under one umbrella. I'm talking about a virtual consolidation, nothing like putting together on one document. No, a virtual consolidation of somebody has to take the lead, some known person, little influential person. That's why they call it farmer producer organization, FPOs as they call in the rural sector. And that's what is being promoted. People are looking in the new farm laws. Government of India is looking at training these FPOs so that they can bring under one umbrella some 20, 30, 40, 50 farmers to make it a kind of a virtual consolidated land holding of, 200 acres, 300 acres. And then you can then strike a deal with the tractor guy. Come on, you rent your tractor, use it for 1 week, 10 days, 15 days, share the cost. Example. Similarly, application equipments. Many things could then be agro inputs. We can negotiate a better deal with the dealer of agro inputs. I'm buying, instead of just for 2 acre land, how much I'll buy? 200 kilos. Instead, I'll buy 3 tons now. Come on, tell me, what is the price? So you get into a kind of a bargaining power with that kind of a virtual consolidation. So when you say this is something which is a challenge, I don't deny that, but the point remains we need to facilitate. You think Coca-Cola had an easy cakewalk? No. Coca-Cola has to be served chill. Because you will appreciate Coca-Cola, that's why I'm giving that example.
Yes.
But in the villages and in the rural areas, the counters do not have a refrigerator. No. So what they did, they provided 2,500 rupees worth small chillers that will store, I don't know, from 10, 20, 30 bottles. Good enough? So it served chill, it served the purpose, and it took off. So what you need to understand, we did that for Stomp herbicide. Farmers were willing to apply a herbicide, but they don't have the equipment because they're not used to spraying anything. So we facilitated the spray hiring available at the dealer shops. So we promoted in the villages. If you want a sprayer, contact this dealer. So the sprayer was taken on rental basis. Instead of buying a sprayer, spending few thousands, here it is only few rupees. Use the sprayer and bring it back. There, the theft is not a problem in rural markets. So they know exactly to whom they are giving. So they took the sprayer, used the sprayer and gave it back. So these are some of the things we need to really look at. Storage is also another issue. Transportation is another issue. If you are passionate about agriculture, these are the areas you can really look into. Warehousing is a big gap in rural markets. They don't have. Farmers do not have this. So you can provide warehousing. You can provide transportation, logistics, some one-tonner, hire something, facilitate the transportation movement. Farmer is benefited, you are benefited as a kind of a bridge in between, and the trader in the market is benefited, in the city is benefited.
Yes.
I hope I've given you some broad answer, right?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So you need to literally think through how you can break that. This is exactly what is happening because you cannot just be promoting a product. Okay, another example, we promoted Pursuit, which is a herbicide that requires a little bit of ammonium sulfate to enhance the uptake of the chemical and also a spreader to make it more effective. So if I tell the end user, along with Pursuit, use ammonium sulfate, use a spreader, they may use it, may not use it. And then they will blame the product. Pursuit did not work. Instead, what we did, all these things were identified in the survey. So we gave ammonium sulfate 50 grams and a small 10 ml or I don't remember now, 50 ml of that spreader along with Pursuit. So now they cannot do anything. They have to put all three into the tank and spray. Done.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Mahalingam, you can go on.
So good afternoon, sir. It was a very good session, sir. My name is Mahalingam and I'm studying first MBA in DJ, sir. So my question to you is like, what do you think the scope of African market for the emerging as a new market for agriculture inputs, sir, in Africa?
African market in general is definitely a good market for agriculture, no question. Because if you might be aware, there are a lot of Indians who go on the lease lands at big stretches, 500 acres, 1,000 acres, 2,000 acres, 10,000 acres, and so on. They take lands on lease, be it Kenya, be it Tanzania, be it Nigeria, be it Ethiopia, and all these countries. And they grow wheat, flowers, vegetables, many crops. And from there, they export to various countries. And China, in a big way, they've entered many countries. Large stretches of lands are taken on lease by China. And they do agriculture, not only for export, even to feed their own population back in their country. For sure, yes. To start with, even in terms of basic agriculture, African continent is looking for people who can come and take the land on lease and cultivate crops. And of course, all this agro inputs and advanced farming, everything is like we can build up.
Thanks.
Sure. You're exploring African market?
Yes, I'm planning to export, sir. There's a lot of MNCs and a lot of many Indian companies are going to Africa. They're seeing as a new potential market.
Yeah. What is the caution in handling or dealing with African markets is in terms of your financial part of it.
Okay.
The financial part is something, of course, when you have thought about it, you must be aware, but that is something you need to keep it in. Russia, African countries offer a lot of potential, but there is an element of risk in terms of the financial management. But if you can make sure, secure that aspect, I think we have a brilliant market, sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, no more questions. Shall we wrap it up, sir?
Fine. If there are no more questions, I've been really enjoying the session, interacting with students and with both of you, Sriraman and Narayanan. Very interesting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Indeed, wonderful, inspiring. Actually, I could get the nostalgia of my sales days. We just spoke about all the marketing strategies and all those things. Wonderful sessions. So now let me call Darshan, our first MA student, to perform a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks for today's session. On behalf of TJME, first of all, I would like to thank today's speaker, Rotarian N. Janakiram Raju, for sparing his valuable time with us today. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I would like to thank our beloved director, Dr. AGV Narayanan, for his continuous encouragement and support. Thank you, sir. Finally, I would like to thank all our faculty members and the students and all the other participants from other institutions for joining today's session. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's a nice session we all had, I guess. Yeah. Hopefully there could be some takeaways and try and explore. And there's always something called test it out, at least.
Thanks a lot, sir. Have a nice weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narayanan.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure.
Dr. Sriraman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Have a great day. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.